In the bustling corridors of Hollywood, where dreams are both made and shattered, Henry Winkler's journey to stardom was anything but conventional. Standing at 5'6", he was not the towering figure one might expect for a character destined to become a cultural icon. Yet, it was precisely this stature that caught the attention of the Happy Days producers. They intentionally sought a shorter actor for the role of Arthur Fonzie Fonzarelli, aiming to ensure that the character wouldn't physically overshadow the rest of the cast, all of whom were under 6 feet tall. This strategic casting decision, however, led to an unexpected outcome. Despite the initial intent to keep Fonzie as a secondary character, Winkler's magnetic portrayal captivated audiences nationwide. His embodiment of the cool, leather-clad biker resonated so profoundly that Fonzie quickly transitioned from a supporting role to the centerpiece of the show. The producers' plan to maintain ensemble balance inadvertently propelled Winkler to unprecedented fame, illustrating that true charisma isn't measured in inches, but in the depth of one's performance. When Happy Days premiered in 1974, it instantly struck a nostalgic chord with America. In a post-Vietnam, Watergate-weary world, viewers were hungry for simpler times, and the show delivered just that, a return to the innocence of the 1950s, where life revolved around diners, jukeboxes, and Saturday night dances. The original spotlight was meant for Richie Cunningham, the clean-cut redhead portrayed by Ron Howard, but it didn't take long before another character stole the show. Enter Arthur Fonzarelli, the Fonz. With his black leather jacket, motorcycle, and that unforgettable thumbs up, Fonzie wasn't just a character. He became a symbol of effortless cool. Audiences were mesmerized. He was the rebel with a heart of gold, the street-smart protector, the guy every kid wanted to be and every parent eventually approved. He leapt from the margins of the script to the center of pop culture almost overnight. Merchandise flew off shelves. Fonzie lunchboxes, action figures, and Halloween costumes flooded the market. Network executives took notice, and suddenly, a side character was anchoring one of the biggest shows on TV. But while fans saw a man who could fix a jukebox with a single hit, behind the scenes was an actor who often couldn't even read the script without stumbling. Beneath the slick exterior of America's favorite cool guy, Henry Winkler was quietly unraveling, fighting a private battle that threatened to expose him in front of millions. When Happy Days was first conceived, Arthur Fonzarelli wasn't designed to be the star. Far from it. He was the leather-jacketed loner, a background figure meant to add a little edge to the otherwise squeaky clean world of Richie and his friends. The original script gave him just a handful of lines, a motorcycle, and a cool swagger to round out the cast. But the moment Henry Winkler stepped into the role, something shifted. His charisma leapt off the screen. Audiences couldn't get enough of him. Every A lit up living rooms across America. Within a season, letters poured into ABC, asking for more Fonzie. Ratings spiked. Executives started leaning in, watching the character's growing impact. And at one point, the network seriously considered renaming the entire series Fonzie's Happy Days. Winkler, for his part, was gracious but cautious. Fame had found him, yes, but what no one realized was that it also found his most vulnerable self. He was suddenly the face of American cool, but behind that effortless exterior was a man terrified of being exposed. Henry Winkler couldn't read like the other. Words on a page twisted, danced, or disappeared altogether. Unbeknownst to nearly everyone around him, he had dyslexia, undiagnosed, unspoken, and completely overwhelming. Memorizing lines became a grueling marathon. Rehearsals were filled with quiet panic. He would read a script multiple times just to make sense of a single paragraph. Crew members grew impatient. Some whispered that he was unprofessional. Others assumed he didn't care. The truth was far more painful. Winkler had spent most of his life internalizing the lie that he wasn't smart enough, capable enough, or worthy enough. I was told I would never achieve anything. Teachers labeled me slow. I believed them, he would later reveal. Yet there he was, delivering flawless takes, lighting up the screen, while inside, he was still the boy who'd been made to feel small. Every laugh track that played was matched by a moment of fear behind the scenes, that someone might finally realize he was struggling to keep up. Fame came fast, and it came with rules. The moment Fonzie became a household name, Henry Winkler's life was no longer his own. He couldn't go out in public without hearing someone shout, "Hey!" or asking him to strike the signature pose. Fans adored him, but producers took it a step further. They wanted Fonzie not just on screen, but everywhere. Winkler was told to never break character in public, to always be the cool guy with the confidence and swagger. The man behind the role began disappearing into the persona. At interviews, on talk shows, even at charity events, he was expected to be Fonzie. It wasn't just exhausting, it was suffocating. Any crack in the facade, any moment of vulnerability could risk exposing the truth that he was still struggling with dyslexia, that he was still haunted by years of being called stupid. Inside, Winkler feared that if he ever showed his real self, the industry would turn on him just as quickly as it had embraced him. When Happy Days finally came to a close, the curtain dropped, but the role didn't. Winkler was now a legend and trapped by it. Casting directors didn't want Henry, they wanted Fonzie. Over and over again, he heard the same thing. We love you, but we can't see you as anyone else. Doors shut that had once opened easily. His own success became his prison. The leather jacket that had made him famous now kept him from moving forward. He had spent years proving he could act. Now, he had to prove he could be anything but Fonzie. Henry Winkler could have faded quietly into the background, letting Fonzie be the final chapter of his story. But instead, he chose to rewrite the narrative. He stopped hiding his struggle and started sharing it. In interviews, on stage, and in schools across the country, he began speaking openly about his battle with dyslexia. The shame that once kept him silent became a tool for connection. Children listened, parents leaned in, educators took notice. And then came the books. Winkler teamed up with author Lynn Oliver to create Hank Zipser, a children's series about a bright boy with dyslexia. Funny, relatable, and deeply personal. The books didn't just entertain, they empowered kids who saw themselves in Hank. Winkler gave the hero he never had to a whole new generation. And Hollywood, it finally saw him again, not as a character frozen in time, but as an actor with layers far beyond leather jackets and motorcycles. In 2018, decades after Happy Days, Winkler earned his first Emmy Award for his role in HBO's Barry, playing a washed-up acting coach clinging to relevance. It was raw, it was honest, and it was brilliant. The award wasn't just recognition of a great performance. It was a full-circle moment. Henry Winkler had once been told he'd never make it. Then he became the most beloved character on television. And finally, years later, he was honored not for pretending to be cool, but for having the courage to be completely, unapologetically himself. So much of what we remember from television comes down to character quirks, their lines, the way they made us feel. Fonzie wasn't just a character, he was an era-defining icon. The leather jacket, the motorcycle, the effortless thumbs up, they all became shorthand for cool. But maybe what's most powerful is what we didn't see. Behind that image was a man carrying a quiet struggle, someone who spent his early years being dismissed, misjudged, and underestimated. And yet, he didn't let that story define him. He transformed pain into purpose, insecurity into empathy, and a personal challenge into a platform that's helped countless others feel seen. So the next time you flip through channels and catch a rerun of Happy Days, when that theme song plays and Fonzie steps into frame with a smirk and a hey, take a second to think about what it took to bring that moment to life. Not just talent, but resilience. Not just timing, but heart. The Fonz may have ruled the screen, but Henry Winkler is the one who's left the lasting legacy. Not because he played it cool, but because, in the end, he chose to be real. If this story moved you, if hearing the real journey behind Fonzie, the struggles, the heartbreak, the incredible comeback gave you a new appreciation for Henry Winkler, then take a moment to support the channel. Hit that like button to let us know this kind of deep dive storytelling matters. Subscribe if you want more stories like this, raw, real, and filled with the heart behind the fame. We're just getting started uncovering the truth behind the faces we grew up with. And most importantly, drop a comment below. What did Fonzie mean to you growing up? Did you ever suspect that the coolest guy on TV was carrying such a heavy burden behind the scenes? Or maybe this hit home because you too have battled something quietly while showing the world your brightest smile. We want to hear your story because these aren't just entertainment legends. They're human beings who remind us we're not alone. Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the strongest people are the ones who had every reason to quit, but never did.